You're listening to the Yes, I'm Still Sober podcast with John Rabin. All right, here we go again. It's the Yes, I'm Still Sober podcast with John Rabin, episode 73. Hello, everybody. It's November 13th, and here in Austin, Texas, for our standards, it's cold as shit. And it's raining, so you get to be cold and wet, which is a great combination, along with the wind blowing. All three at once. It's been great. I don't, it's rough for us down here for the 3 days that we have to endure this. Because I really do. I think I may have to. I'm not going to look again, but I did look, and I think the forecast said that we're going to get back to like 70 degrees in like 36 hours from now, or something like that. I might as well. I don't know, but I don't know how people in the north and the northeast. I don't know how you do it. I guess if you have enough of this kind of shit, you just kind of like, I gotta go out, gotta get things done. But kind of makes all of us hibernate and do very little. At least that's what I've been doing. I've been doing very little the past couple of days, and it's been great. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy doing nothing. It's very fun. I had a show. I had a show on Monday night, and it was great because I got booked. I've wanted this ever since I've been a comedian. So 20 plus years, I've wanted to do a gig at a location that was just across the street from where I lived. Just the dream to have to casually walk across the street to do a show, and I got to do that on Monday. Good thing too, because that's when the cold front really hit. And now, granted, in the past, the reason was I wanted to do a gig across the street because, that way I was in staggering distance of my place, so I could get as fucked up as possible and didn't have to risk driving drunk like I would do a lot. So that was what I wanted back then. Now I wanted to do a gig across the street because, I don't like, the drive time is ideal. I don't have to fucking do anything. I can wait till the last minute. It meets all my expectations is to go over there to do comedy. So that was good. It was a good set. It's a good show. Wanted to talk about this just right off top because, I've complained, but people don't listen to me at work because I always complain. I'm not always complain. I do that thing that I do where I bitch trying to be funny. This is entertainment to me, is to complain about things that I find to be ridiculous. And but the thing is that everybody I work with, they've known me for a while, so they know how I am. And they've all become used to it, and they've adjusted to tuning me out. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating that they figured me out, and they're like, and they just keep doing what they're doing. It's they've adapted. They've adapted to me, and it's sad, really. No, but this is the thing. So it seems to me that, and luckily I get paid by the hour at work, and I'm not a server. Thank God, just in general, I'm not a server. I wouldn't be for very long. But I couldn't subject myself to that. Certainly not now. Maybe in my early 20s I could have gotten away with it, but definitely not now. I wouldn't. No ass kissing for me. But it would seem to me that if I was a server, that the music that you play in your restaurant be not too distracting, be upbeat, be conducive to people having a good time so that they pay you more money, possibly. But what we do with our music sometimes is just counterintuitive. I don't understand. And they're getting used to me complaining about it. Because for a while we had Spotify at work, all right? And instead of people using all the resources in Spotify to look up playlists that can access all, music, essentially, people would put on an album of one band. I'm just going to play this album. But what happens is if you don't hit autoplay, they weren't hitting autoplay. They had it always set on repeat. So they would play the album and then they would get busy. So the servers are so busy, they're tuned out. They're kind of listening, but not really listening. But I pay the fuck attention because I'm very aware of my surroundings, being sober as hell. And so they just let it play. So the same album, which is about 40-something minutes long, would play like 3 times before finally I would go back there and go, God damn you guys, and then have to change it. Or people would be like, I don't have time to go in there and change it. It's not hard. You just find something that people recognize, or they would put on something that they liked. Like one guy's playing Bob Dylan, and not like later Bob Dylan, like late 70s Bob Dylan. And, so it's not, it's recognizable to fans. But also, nobody wants to eat breakfast listening to Bob Dylan from the 70s. Nobody wants to hear him sing about the hurricane for 8.5 minutes long. That song's fucking long. And I don't understand why anybody would do that. I'm like, do you not like money? Do you want people to leave? And I think that's what it is. I think they don't care. I don't understand. It's very simple. Oh yeah, we have. So what happened is we got Sirius Radio now, Sirius XM, which comes with Pandora. So some people are like, I can't play an album. Yeah, that's good. You can't be trusted to play music, so now you have to select something so at least we'll get variety. Holy shit! And they still don't get it. They still don't understand how to. We've got, the owner wanted to put on like classic country. He's like, oh no, this matches the theme. This is like, I think this is this music best represents this restaurant, and it doesn't, because we're a diner that serves breakfast and also booze, but we have breakfast and lunch, and it's just the classic country, and it wasn't like classic country like Willie and Waylon. It was like really classic country. And I'm just sitting there going, you know what? Nobody loves mimosas and also deep cuts of Lefty Frizzell. You know what I mean? They don't like both of those things. They're not going to come down here and go, oh, Becky, nice hat. Boy, brunch is so great. Oh my God, is this Sons of the Pioneers? This is my fucking jam. Nobody says that. And it's just dumb. We have another employee that puts on music that just she likes. It's in Spanish. So it's just the whole fucking time. And it's, like in the middle of the day during a rush. And I'm like, are you all right? You don't want to make money either? Okay. It's not hard. It's really not hard. All you have to do is you look up the Pandora station and you pick either Stevie Wonder or Otis Redding. That's all you do. You put that on, and everything that they will play is at a good tempo. It's mostly upbeat, and it's very, very listenable. The only downside, that's why I said Otis Redding, because if you pick Stevie Wonder, you're going to get the occasional Stevie Wonder song that's really harmonica heavy. And the harmonica that Stevie Wonder had, especially in later, Isn't She Lovely years, is just fucking annoying, that harmonica. I'm just like, dude, come on. You're blind, not deaf. Can you not hear how shitty this harmonica is? But, maybe you're into that. But other than that, you're solid. You can put on the Pandora station of Otis Redding or Stevie Wonder, and it'll play all day. People will be happy, and you'll probably make more money. That's all I'm saying. Jesus. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. No, damn, talked about that a while. But but I've also, I've had to just emergency, hey, change the music. And I just throw on like ELO. Or I put on Phil Collins one time, and one of my coworkers are like, is this your music? I'm like, no, it's not my music. This is music for boring white people. This is what you want. You want them to be able to ignore it, but also recognize it. I'm like, is this Susu's studio? That's what you want. You want them to go, ooh. Anyway, so I says to Mabel, that's what you want. You want them to just kind of get it and go, George Michael. You want something just kind of, you don't want it noticeable. That's kind of, I mean, it's one thing if you're in a bar, and you want like a good jukebox, but not when you're eating. When you're eating, you don't want to get into the intricacies of prog rock. Like, you don't need to go that route. It's just all right, that's enough. You get what you guys get it. So I didn't really know I was going to talk about it that long, honestly, but I do go on. I wanted to mention, I really only wanted to talk about one thing, and I will probably talk about this on and off for the next few weeks as I go, because I reactivated Audible so I can listen to audiobooks, because I am trying to read more, but also, audiobooks are pretty rad when you actually have to do shit, when you've got lots of things that you're pretending to do, and I pretend to do a lot. So there's this journalist named Ben Westhoff. Now Ben, I think it was a music journalist for the LA Weekly, I think it was. I mean, he used to cover like rap music and club music and stuff, and he found his way because he was covering. He started noticing the different in the rave community. He was noticing people like ODs and deaths, mysterious deaths in the rave community, and finding out that this form of Molly that they were taking, that was in powder form instead of just popping a pill and rolling the whole night. They were like dipping into bags of powder like every 10 to 15 minutes. And the thing is that it turns out that some of them had fentanyl and has been known for killing some people. And that led him into a real investigation, and he released a book called Fentanyl Inc. And I've only listened to the introduction, and it's already blew me away. So I highly recommend it already, and I'm just into like chapter 2. But it's called Fentanyl Inc., and it's by Ben Westhoff, and it's very thorough. He's definitely investigated. Like, it's, lots of resources, highly. And the thing is, like, immediately I was thinking about how great it was that it was an actual, like, I'm like, this is an actual journalist. This is an actual reporter. This is a guy who went undercover pretending to be a buyer and went to China and visited like a super lab and like an office building that was like very public with young people selling ingredients to make fentanyl and sells to like cartels and everything, and totally legal because they get subsidies from, you know, the government, from the Chinese government to do so. Like he actually went and you know, and interviewed and saw the super lab and saw this office. He's interviewed dealers and users and all this stuff, and I'm like, this is fucking journalism. It's not, you know, combing through somebody's Twitter feed and then writing a medium.com article. But it's just unbelievable. Just so much shit. Talking about how, like the beginning of, like the very beginning of the opioid crisis, or what, like at the beginning, when doctors used to only consider, 4 vital signs. And then there was the American Pain Society was talking about the 5th, the pain regulation of the patient should be like the 5th vital sign. And which kind of fascinated me, because I didn't know we had an American Pain Society. If I heard that name, I think it would be an S&M thing, but it wasn't. It's actually, of course, they're defunct now. I found out they're defunct this year because of all the lawsuits that have basically thrown the American Pain Society in as accusing them of being a front for pharmaceutical companies, because pharmaceutical companies donate money to them because it's in their interest to keep an organization like them, saying, the importance of maintaining, pain regulation of patients. But because they started off, they thought that they didn't think that pain, in their test studies, they didn't think that pain medication was addictive, because when somebody's actually in pain, it's like, well, pain, the medication, the pain soaks up the euphoria. That's what they thought. And it makes sense on paper. Turns out, nope. But anyway, it's just, and I'm going to, as I go through this book, I'm sure I'll bring up stuff in future episodes that I find out, because it was frightening. When you're hearing about, just giving examples of basically, China, most of the fentanyl, it's produced and it's manufactured in labs in China, and then sent to people who then sell to other people on the dark web for Bitcoin. Almost like it, just an underground Amazon.com basically. And it's a little, and also hearing about different things, because I'm very thankful that I'm sober, and I'm also thankful that a lot of the people that I know, that we went through this years ago. But I'm really, as if young people don't have enough to worry about in this day and age, with all the bullshit with social media and everything else, and all the pressures that they've got on themselves. Fentanyl is not just showing up in heroin. It's starting to show up in meth and in coke. So this is not just a thing, especially with coke, when you think about it, because it's easy to make fun of it, to be like, because I've seen comedians do it where it's like, oh, this is a white person drug, because white people get all the painkillers. But it's showing up in coke now. It's starting to spread in other things, Molly and stuff. So it's, they need to do something. They need to provide like fentanyl testing strips, which the FDA probably won't ever approve, because if they do, it's like saying that they support drug use, It's like, oh, let's make it safer for people to do illegal drugs instead of not doing illegal drugs. Like that's going to stop people instead of it's that same argument. The whole let's not provide them clean needles because then we're supporting their habit. Yeah, but it's also making it safer until they get help. You know, it's that whole argument still. And it's scary. It's this, fentanyl's a fucking scary drug. And it's not the only one. That's the thing, is that it's, what are they called? I had to write it down because it was, novel psychoactive substances, NPS. So fentanyl is a novel psychoactive substance, which is a synthetic. And there's a whole bunch of them. And they're basically synthetics that are designed to mimic the effects of traditional drugs. And what sucks about some of these, like K2 and Kush and all that shit, that really can fuck people up, is it's stemmed to, young people are attracted to them because of pressure from parents and organizations, job, whatever else, with the drug testing. Instead of just letting them, saying, hey, don't smoke weed, but we're not going to test you for weed, so that if you go behind our back, at least you're going to smoke weed and not some of this other sick bullshit that'll kill you. Now they're going to that other sick bullshit that'll kill them because these new synthetics don't show up on the drug test yet because they're new and it's a different design, so it doesn't trigger that test. So it's almost like you're pushing people away. You're pushing younger people to those drugs because you're testing for weed instead of going, why don't we test for other things and let the THC thing go? Because I've never been a fan of weed. I love making fun of it. I love making fun of potheads. But I'm not stupid. I recognize, the truth with it. And you'd think we'd be in a different place now in 2019, but no. Parents still trying to drug test their kids for weed. Jesus Christ. But there was there's this one thing I wanted to tell you about. Like, and this is also what we're dealing with. There's a news station in Utah. Goddamn Utah, of course. But they posted this so-called article that they had written up, and it kind of went viral and got picked up by all these other stations. And what they did was they started a rumor because there was an internal law enforcement memo that they got a hold of. So that was probably some bullshit that some cop thought and wanted to tell other cops, hey guys, I think that, that to be careful that that drug dealers were hiding fentanyl by disguising it as marijuana without giving any kind of details on how the fuck they could do that, or any actual real world examples of drug dealers disguising fentanyl as weed. But now it's freaked out lots of dumb people. So, you've got even more grief coming at you guys, you potheads, is because they're going to go, oh, it might be fentanyl. It's not. It's not a real thing. That's not happened. But so we've got that thing happening. Even more shit. So fun, right? Really, really fun. But it's not all bad. Some of us are still sober. If you're listening to this and you're sober, keep it up, you guys. Because it does sound scary out there. I think that if you do like to use drugs and you're not getting it, that's what sucks is, we talk about pharmacies being evil, the big pharma and all that, because, they want to make money. But it's like it's the only way you can be sure that you're getting exactly what it's labeled. It's almost like if you what really sucks about it is that if you like doing drugs, you typically don't have the money to just buy a bunch of extra things. But it seems to me that if you want to continue to do drugs outside of weed, that you may have to actually, I highly recommend buying fentanyl testing strips. They're not expensive. You can buy them online. That way you can test every batch, of whatever you're buying. You can test it so that, so you're like, look, I want the drug itself to kill me, not another drug that I didn't want to kill me. I want the drug that I wanted to kill me. That kind of mentality. But for real though, fentanyl testing strips might be the way to go. I heard I don't know, there was one of those many people that do YouTube videos that sound informative, but he did make this point, and he was like, because they're talking to people who are friends or family of addicts and what they can do, and if you've got somebody that who's addicted to opioids or heroin, and it's like and you don't know what you can do, and he said basically, he's like, look, I'm sorry, there's not much other than, he goes, what you could do is give them some Narcan and take them out to dinner. Like, other than that, he didn't have any other suggestions, and that's about right. That was actually a really good suggestion to me. They could probably use a good meal, and they could absolutely use some Narcan, because it's still like $130. They haven't lowered the price on that. So if you're really concerned about somebody and you don't think that they have Narcan of their own, that's actually an interest. It's a little bit of an investment, but if you really care about them, that's a pretty decent suggestion to at least have that. Maybe have some for yourself if you're around people that that use to that kind of level. Man, kind of a bummer. You want to go back to talking about bullshit music? Let me tell you. No. Although there was this one time, this one server put on Matchbox 20. I swear to God. Like when we still had Spotify, so it was like the artist and then just go. And so like full, catalog of Matchbox 20. I was fucking furious. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. Let's talk about music and fentanyl, everybody. This is what's going on this week. But if I come up with any more tidbits from that book that I'm listening to, I'll definitely pass it along if I find it interesting. Other than that, you guys be safe out there. Keep doing what you're doing if you're not, as long as you're not self-destructing. It's going to be all right. Thank you guys for joining me. This has been Yes, I'm Still Sober. I am still sober. And I am still John Rabin. We'll see you guys next week. Later.